Hi.
Hi.
Welcome to Teetotally Awesome. This is a place where we're going to talk about all things awesome that don't include alcohol. Yep. I'm Allison.
I'm Eric.
Who are you?
I'm Eric.
Awesome. How's your week been going?
I almost said, and we're hand-brewed soaps. Are we hand-brewed soaps?
We're not hand-brewed soaps.
We're sober soaps.
We're sober soaps.
So we're a soap company, a beer soap company that has gotten sober.
We totally got sober. We sure did. We got sober, and then our soaps got sober. And so Sober Soaps is kind of like sponsoring all things Teetotally Awesome.
Oh, they're sponsoring this
They're presenting it like we present it.
podcast?
Yeah. Or I don't know if this is even going to be a podcast. This could be like on YouTube or something. Who knows?
Yeah, not a podcast. It's
a conversation.
It's a convo.
It's a convo.
Okay, all right. Convo.
We're convoing. Are you ready to convo?
Ready.
Oh, awesome.
What is Teetotally Awesome? Yeah.
So teetotally or teetotaler is a person that abstains from alcohol. That's what the name teetotaler is. So I've changed the name to call it an adverb. So teetotally. So teetotally awesome. All things that are awesome that don't have alcohol or there's no alcohol involved in it. So it could be an activity. It could be a product. It could be like your meditation that you talked about. It could be anything. Something that just brings you joy, life, whatever, that is totally awesome.
Yeah. So again, that's from like initially getting sober. That what you think is pleasureful is so distorted because everything, when you're drinking or using drugs is like everything is amped up. So anything that's below that is not perceived by your brain as being fun or pleasurable. So there's this recalibration that happens with your mind. And, once you get to a point where you're like, okay, cool, I can be totally happy with these teeny tiny little things that can make me really, really happy. Looking up at the sun or tracing the moon. I love watching where the moon is and understanding the lunar cycle. I mean, such a little thing that I find so much joy in. But what is Teetotally Awesome? I do meditating. And this particular meditation that I started learning, you're supposed to do it for a 40-day mandala.
Cool.
And the reason you're supposed to do it 40 days is because that's how long it takes for the new activity to make an imprint on your system. I think they're like every 40 or 48 days or something like that is a mandala cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah, so every morning at 6 a.m. and every night around 5 p.m. I do this 21-minute meditation.
What day are you on?
I am on day 37 out of 40.
So what happens after the 40 days?
Then instead of doing the meditation twice a day, you do it once a day. Mm-hmm. Because then, like I said, then it's imprinted on your system. So whatever you've been doing, the effects of it really start to kick in.
That's really cool.
Supposedly, that's the yogic belief.
Yeah. Well, I've noticed huge differences in you. So.
Yeah. Like, what have you noticed?
I've noticed that you've been like, you're way super chill.
Yeah.
Like, how dealing with our children and just, whatever happens, and you have a very different reaction.
Yeah, that's definitely from the meditation.
And that you've actually like stuck with it. You know what I mean? That's like huge. Not that you don't stick with things, but that's horrible.
No, that is true.
No, but I mean, it's a big commitment. It's like, it's more like, 35 minutes in the morning and at nighttime too. That's a lot.
Yeah, it's a 21-minute the actual practice is 21 minutes, and then there's a I guess it ends up being 17 minutes. You do an invocation at the beginning where you talk about like moving from untruth to truth and from darkness to light. And then you do the five things where you're like kind of like, I'm not the body, I'm not the mind, those kinds of things, reminders to yourself. And then there's preparatory exercises, and then there's the actual meditation itself. But yeah, so I've always had an issue with quitting before I commit. Don't quit before you commit. That was the thing that I was talking about in my counseling sessions. Was I always wanted to meditate. I always wanted to have a practice like that, and I never did it because I really didn't know what I was doing. It was just I was doing something random. And so it was like I wouldn't feel better after. I would feel better after a week, and then I'd try something else, and then I wouldn't feel better. It was too random. This is very, very, very specific about this is what you do, that you do this for 40 days. After that, you continue doing it every day. There's very, very specific cycle and sequence, which has stuck with me. But I also found a great teacher that I really like. So
who's your teacher?
My guru is Sadhguru.
Cool.
Yeah. Found him online watching YouTube videos and then started taking his classes online.
That's awesome.
Highly recommend, yeah. And I think I'm going to buy the class for you.
Cool.
Yeah.
I look forward to it. It seems that like I've been watching you do a lot, just changing, like even like in sobriety, for example, like I just see all of these changes and I feel like you inspire me to do those things.
What things?
No, just like just watching you and observing you, witnessing you and how like you change, like within, like, for example, in sobriety and being like, oh, just watching you and being like, I want that, or with your meditation, like just seeing how calm you are. I'm like, okay, I want that. I'm willing to try that. So I feel like it's important that there's just a model, like you've been modeling for me, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And I really appreciate that in our relationship. Like you've modeled a lot of cool stuff. So.
Oh, well, that's a big deal. You've never said that.
It's a huge deal.
Yeah, very huge deal. Yeah. After the initial, like the honeymoon phase of getting sober, like you see these immediate impacts or whatever, and then it's like you realize that underneath that first initial kind of uncovering, that there's a lot of other stuff that has to get uncovered, and that was really painful for me because in addition to finding out that I had this, was an alcoholic, that I was also codependent. And I have a sweet tooth. I like to eat sugar. I like to eat late at night. So I had a weight problem, and I had some other health problems like high cholesterol, borderline diabetes. And then I found out maybe last summer, 2 summers ago, this idea that like your mind is actually working against you. I always thought that my mind was like one of my greatest assets. Like I prided myself on being a very intelligent person, but I now understand from from working with Sadhguru and Russell Smith, another teacher that I found through a podcast, that if you can't shut off your thinking, if you can't separate from your thinking, then your mind is a trap. It actually can harm you because then you get into cyclical, compulsive thinking that is counterproductive to what you want to achieve in your life.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So, coming to grips with like, what do I do now? If my mind isn't the asset that I thought it was, what do I do with that? And so I've learned to, again, through working with Sadhguru, that to separate from your mind and your body. I never really understood that I'm a life that's not this body that I've picked up and I've accumulated from the earth,
Mm-hmm.
and that my mind is simply an accumulation of thoughts
Mm.
and, emotions. Um, so that's an interesting thing. Yeah, but how about you? I don't think that you have, unless I'm really really wrong. Um, you did not struggle with alcohol. Um, you did not use alcohol in the first place the same way that I did,
That is correct.
but you stopped drinking when I stopped drinking.
Yeah.
So what has that been like for you?
Well, I definitely didn't have like I feel like I wasn't drinking healthily, if that's a word. I wasn't like, it became a pattern for me, and I would wake up and be like, oh, I don't feel good, hangovers and this and that. I mean, I was putting back at least 3/4 a bottle of wine, um, so but I don't feel that I needed it, but I felt like it had become a habit, if that makes sense. Drinking for me was a habit, right? Kids get home, it's time to make dinner, you drink the wine, right? First glass. And then next thing you know, you're on glass 3 or 4. So, but but I remember when you did your first month and going through your program, and then actually like doing the Al-Anon part of it, or the family classes, and really understanding the science of the brain and what's happening and how loved ones play a part in it. Like that was like such a huge deal for me. I mean, I don't know if you remember when I called you from the parking lot after my first class, and I was just like bawling, and I was just like, oh my God, I'm not alone. Oh my God. I mean, I can't even really express what I learned and what I felt. It was just this thing. And so that was part of it. But then again, just like really watching you and seeing how you changed, and knowing, like seeing you again, like when I first fell in love with you, right? Like for me, it was like, that was a no-brainer. Like I love that guy, and there he is again. I'm seeing him again. And so I'm going to do whatever I can to help with that, right? Like in a sense, to become like that sober ally. I couldn't imagine you coming home to somebody that was drinking wine and making dinner, right? Like I couldn't even imagine that. I couldn't imagine going out with my friends and coming home and, like the smell of alcohol on my breath, right?
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine doing that to you or to any sober person. But that's just because of like the history that you and I have shared, and like what we've been through. I mean, we're almost married for 20 years, man. Can you believe that? 19. Holy shit, that's a lot. I love you, dude.
18.
8. Okay, you're the mathematician. But
Yeah, no, it's getting close. Yeah, it's 20 years. Yeah, it's 18 this summer. But yeah, you go through you're part of a community. You find out all kinds of stuff that you know that what all you have in common with all those people. But you don't know how like strange your life had become until you hear other people say the exact same thing. But in in rehab, there were a lot of people were talking about the exact same thing, going home to a spouse, and the spouse hadn't quit and really wasn't planning on it. And that whole dynamic of, does the other person hide? They're still drinking and they're hiding it, but the sober person knows that they're drinking. It's you
right,
you
exactly.
drink and you stop drinking, immediately when you go to a social situation that somebody's been drinking or doing something. It's just, you just know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and when you're fresh, when you're freshly sober, that's a horrible place to be. But as time goes on, it gets better and better that, I can be in, I'm going to go to a bar in a month and I'm going to see a band that I discovered a couple years ago. But I'm not going to let that stop me. I've been sober for 3 years now, and I really want to see this band. So I feel like I have the strength and I have enough core habits to know that if I'm even contemplating taking a drink, that I'll just leave. But I don't even feel that. I'm not going there for the social situation. I'm going there to hear the music.
Yeah. Where am I going with this? Watching you get sober and really wanting to support you in that, but also in supporting you in your recovery. It gave me a new lens, and it made me feel like really proud, not only of you, but of me as well. Right. Like the stigma with alcohol, specifically around moms, or just, like when people tell you like, oh my God, you're not drinking, like, what? You're not drinking, and all of that. And really realizing it's like, no, I'm not. And now it's like, it's my fucking superpower, right? Like, that's the one thing that keeps me, like, if I can do that, I can do anything, just because there's so much pressure built up around it, besides like the recovery aspect of it and addiction of it. But for someone like me who used it more as a routine and then was like, this isn't like necessarily the healthy thing. Anyway, I don't know where I'm going with that, but I just wanted to say just kind of the importance of being kind of like that sober ally, I guess. Whatever.
Yeah.
I feel.
No. I saw that from you too. I mean, you weren't necessarily, like we said, you weren't grappling with the breaking a cycle of alcoholism. Although I think, there has been some in your family, but you personally did not have that issue. But yeah, breaking the cycle, and then you not drinking, then also helped you realize that there were other things that you were doing compulsively, that you were able to see, because you weren't being your perception wasn't being altered by alcohol and by my daily use of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I could be wrong, but it seemed like you have discovered and are continuing to discover things that you do compulsively and how to break those cycles.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely a compulsive person. Routines, right? Yeah. No, I mean, now it's alcohol's gone, but then other things are coming up, and I'm dealing with that, like social media for one of them, or volunteering. Like, just a whole bunch of other things that I'm now finding compulsive. So going back to like you having lots of things come up for you, like there's all of a sudden all these things are coming up for me too. It's like, oh wow, so now I'm doing this, but instead of it being, the routine of alcohol, now it's the routine of social media, or it's the routine of blah blah blah, which is not really.
Yeah, and routines in and of themselves are not bad.
Right.
It's the fact that you are doing them compulsively. You're doing not consciously. And again, that's for me, that's the work I've tried to do, is to understand. This has been really difficult, but understanding up until this moment and now this moment, am I doing things consciously, or are they happening compulsively? Am I doing them with my own intention, or is it something that's just happening and I really don't have power or control over, and it's just randomly happening? And it's a lot of things. It's really challenging to be conscious of that. It's a very interesting process.
Yeah, it definitely is. Well, thank you. Well, on that note, we have to go pick up children from school. But for those that are listening or watching, we encourage you to go check out sobersoaps.com and see what's going on over there. Also check out, what's your tea brand that you really, really like? It's the
name of the company is Hoplark, and they make hop tea and a variety of different, also hop water.
Oh, they do.
Yes, they make hop flavored carbonated water. They're out of Boulder, Colorado, I believe.
That's cool. But this is not affiliated with them at all. We just actually like them. So there's no affiliated link. People do that. So
yeah. And I would also say, if you have a minute and you want to check out anything by Sadhguru, SADHGURU, just like guru, Sadhguru. He has thousands of videos on YouTube, and just do one of the meditations, guided meditations that he offers. He's a brilliant, amazing human being, and check it out.
Cool. Well, we'll see everybody next time. Thanks for joining us.
Okay, continue being teetotally awesome.
Yeah, right. Be teetotally awesome. That was dumb. Let's try it again. Be
Teetotally
awesome. We need to work on that one.
Thanks. This was fun.